Well, Spring, it may be an overreaction because we haven't seen the Avs play for 15 days going into this weekend. But after two losses, back to back nights on Saturday and Sunday at the hands of the Nashville Predators and the St. Louis Blues this afternoon/evening, a 3-1 loss at St. Louis, it feels like the worst weekend of the year for the Avs.
The Four Nations face-off has ended. I know that. You know that. The viewers filing into this show, I think, know that. Do the Avs know that? Do the Avs know that the Four Nations face-off ended?
One,
And
two, three, Cabo.
the regular season has resumed. Um, Goaltending wasn't the issue. Blackwood was great. Blackwood made some big saves. Right now, it's offensively from a forward standpoint. It's Nathan MacKinnon and a bunch of dudes. That's what it is right now. It's Nathan MacKinnon and a bunch of dudes. Wednesday can't come soon enough. And maybe a couple days off, getting back home, practice. I talked about that on the broadcast, getting some practices in. Nate, Kale, and Devon weren't even at practice last week when they all got back to the facility after the break. Get back on the home ice, and finally, Valeri Nichushkin is back. That's the only answer I have right now is get Valeri Nichushkin back in the lineup. He's your second best forward. Necas is nice. I never thought he would be better than Nichushkin. Nichushkin is great. They need him back in the worst way. Finally, he's back on Wednesday night. And then we'll see, if this continues with Nichushkin back, if it continues on the home ice. Remember the last 5-game homestand they had didn't go too well. Needs to be better on this one. But yeah, I can't wait to see Valeri Nichushkin back because it's Nathan MacKinnon and a bunch of dudes right now.
Yeah, it was ugly the whole weekend. It felt lifeless. It felt listless. It felt like players were starting to get back. You know what it felt like? It felt like the first 20 minutes of a skate after you've been gone on holiday break. In the first 20 minutes, you're kind of getting back into it and nothing's intense and nothing really matters. And then at some point, you either find the switch or the pucks go back into the bag and then you get skated for the rest of practice. That's how I remember it. And unfortunately in the NHL, as it comes after the Four Nations break, you don't get the opportunity to get bag skated at practice. You just get bag skated by two mediocre hockey teams in your own division. And make no mistake about it, Nashville and St. Louis are mediocre hockey teams at best. And you looked worthless this weekend. I suppose the bright side of this is like, hey, look at the Edmonton Oilers, who are favorites to win the Western Conference right now. They gave up 15 goals this weekend in the span of 48 hours. The Avs didn't do that, but they only scored 2. And they looked tired. They looked fatigued. They also looked like they didn't really give a damn. I think you said it right. Wednesday can't come close or can't come quick enough. Nichushkin needs to be back into this lineup, and if it doesn't get better there, you must make a big-time trade before March 7th. Or am I overreacting right now? Because it feels like the sky is falling.
Let's see. New Jersey comes in here on Wednesday, and that right now, that New Jersey, their game they played today as well. A lot of back-to-backs, as you mentioned yesterday. A lot of teams playing back-to-backs today. New Jersey lost at home to Dallas yesterday, and Jack Hughes did not look great in the Four Nations. New Jersey goes to Nashville today. We just saw the Avs in Nashville. We just saw the Avs lose 2-1. New Jersey just won that game 5-0. New Jersey just beat a team you lost to 5-0. So I don't know. Maybe New Jersey's going to come in on Wednesday night. They're going to play pretty well, even though Jack didn't look good in the Four Nations. This homestand coming up. Okay. New Jersey on Wednesday night. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, San Jose. Got to win the San Jose game. Toronto, Chicago.
Yeah, it's a terrible team. Pittsburgh's horrible.
I'll get back to Pittsburgh in a second. Chicago, to wrap it up, you got to finally beat the Blackhawks. Tuesday, March 4th. When's the deadline? That's when Pittsburgh comes to town. Tuesday, March 4th.
Friday, March 7 in the early afternoon is the NHL's trade deadline.
Sidney Crosby cannot leave Ball Arena on unless he is wearing an Av sweater. You hold him hostage.
If we're at the game, I say we go find Kyle Dubas and just pin him down in a corner and go, hey, what do we have to do? What do you want?
Just intimidate him.
House.
Tie him to a chair.
Here's my car keys. Yeah, it was ugly, man.
Pittsburgh today, they lost to the Rangers at home. 2 straight home losses for Sid in the Pens. And the Rangers got freaking blitzed by the Sabres yesterday. So another bad loss, really, for Pittsburgh. Look, Nathan MacKinnon, he is referred to Sidney Crosby as one of his best friends. Well, Sid, one of your best friends needs you.
Yeah, he does need you.
One of your best friends needs you. Are you going to help your friend? There is no look. Hey, you could turn the tables and say, well, Sid or Nate should go help Sid with the Penguins. No, the Avs are far better set up to win right now with an addition or two, such as a Sidney Crosby, than the Pittsburgh Penguins are. So them's the break. Sid, you got to go help your friend. Are you a good friend or not? He needs you. He's all by himself out there right now. Sidney Crosby cannot leave Ball Arena on March 4th unless he's in an Avs sweater.
I completely agree with you. And if it means 2 out of your top 3 prospects and multiple first-round picks, you know what? I do it. Because at this point, you can't look at this situation. And I do believe that McFarland is doing everything that he can to give Nate and Cale everything they need to win a cup. Again, they have $5 million in cap space, and the deadline has not come and gone. If the deadline comes and goes, then they use that $5 million to get a bunch of like has-beens. Again, I think I invoked the name Lars Eller. If they use that cap space to go get some Lars Ellers and some Patrick Nemeths, then I will change my tune. But he and Joe Sakic still have a couple of weeks to get this thing done. They need to make a big swing. The only big swing can't be trading Mikko Rantanen away for Marty Necas, who, if we're being honest, man, and you said at the beginning, it's been Nathan MacKinnon and just a bunch of other guys. You know who was a Jag this weekend? Marty Necas was a Jag this weekend, and he had 2 weeks off, and he looked like it.
Yeah, these have by far been his 2 weakest games as an Av. Now, look, this is gonna happen. The break could be a contributing factor. Even without a break, you're gonna have down swings where your play is not great. So here's 2 games for Marty Necas, and yeah, it was so bad through the first 2 periods that Jared Bednar finally said, "Fuck it, I got nothing to lose. I'm switching the lines up." So we saw Ross Colton go up to the top line with Nathan MacKinnon and Artturi Lehkonen. So Ross hasn't scored since January 9th. It's like 15 or so games that Ross Colton hasn't scored. Not only has he not scored in that stretch, Raj, he only has 1 assist. And that assist was on January 14th against the Rangers. This is like 10-plus games without a point for Ross Colton. Now, he's good early in the season. I've wondered about Juuso Parssinen on the second line. Despite Ross's struggles, he would be the guy I would have looked at elevating to the second line. Hell, to the third line tonight. Necas got demoted to the third line. Kiviranta got promoted to the third line, and they gave a big FU to Miles Wood, who also, he doesn't have a point since, now he's missed some time with injury, but since November. Since he's come back in late January, this is about 10 games, no points for Miles Wood. Now, I like the tone that Miles Wood tried to set today, getting into a fight with, or mucking it up with Nathan Walker. It was Parker Kelly who got into the fight with Nathan Walker, who's an Australian. I'd love to see Australia get a international team, and we could beat up on them. I want to see Nathan Walker play internationally for Australia. Miles Wood gets into it with Nathan Walker. Kelly fights him. They try to set a tone, but they're not producing at all. Miles Wood, Ross Colton, etc., not producing at all offensively right now.
Yeah, Wood for me has been he's been a waste of space for me since he's gotten back from injury, and I need him to find a way to get to the interior of the ice, not by carrying the puck, right? Because I've seen him try and get to the middle of the ice while carrying the puck, and it no longer stays on his stick when he tries to do that, right? So what I'd like to see him do is enter the zone with some help, chip pucks deep, and then get to the middle of the ice and allow the other guys who have a little bit more skill than Woody does go and retrieve that puck, go low to high, and then use that big body in the net front. Wood has been depreciating value for me as of late. I still think they need to make a couple of moves for the next 2 weekends. I guess I have a bright side. Do you want to hear my bright side that I figured out my big brain way to explain away this crap weekend, this lifeless hockey weekend after the 2 best weeks of hockey that I've witnessed since 2010? You want to hear my big brain?
I would love to hear it.
The Avalanche, because they've been so up and down this season, spring, and they're going to make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs as either the 1 seed in the wild card or the 2 seed, maybe even as high as the 3 seed in the Central Division. What we know as of right now is that the Avalanche are not going to run away with the series. They're not going to sweep anyone. They're not going to beat anyone in 5 games as it stands right now. Who knows if they trade for a big-time player, Seth Jones, Sidney Crosby, a player to be named on the Athletics' big trade board of 50 players. As it stands right now, Colorado is not going to beat a team in 4 or 5 games. And what that means is that the Avs aren't going to have a big layoff in between playoff series. When they win their first round, they're going to be playing 2 nights later. They're not going to have to wait 5 or 6 days. Remember what happened at the beginning of the season, spring? They lost 4 straight games. They gave up 8 goals to Vegas. They gave up 6 goals to Columbus. They gave up 6 goals to the New York Islanders in consecutive games before giving up 5 in a 5-3 loss to Boston and start off the year 0-4. The Avs have been horrendous coming off of long breaks. And my big brain move to explain it all away and say that the sky isn't falling is that when they make the playoffs, they don't have to worry about having a long layoff.
So you're saying layoffs have hurt the Avs, as we're seeing right now. Okay.
I'm trying to find positives here, man. That was Saturday and Sunday, coming off of an amazing 4 Nations face-off, not only for hockey fans, but for Avs fans, because the guys that you had there were impactful. Coming off of that and having to watch these 2 games, what a nightmare.
Well, let's remember that their best win of the recent, probably of this year, of this calendar year, 2025, I'd say their best win was the final game before the break, the win in Edmonton, a team that looked, along with Winnipeg, as maybe the 2 favorites to win the West. And Colorado goes in and beats them, and it rejuvenated some hope for me. And I have to remind myself again here too, when you get to the playoffs, look, a hot goaltender can carry you a long way. Avs haven't really ridden the back of a goaltender in their playoff forays in this era. Perhaps Mackenzie Blackwood can help mask some offensive issues, and they can just ride a hot goaltender in the playoffs. And I got to see Nichushkin back, and I want him on the top line. I want Valeri Nichushkin on the top line with Nathan MacKinnon. I suppose I would go Necas as well, to get a right-handed, to get his speed in there, really, with Nathan MacKinnon. Lehkonen line 2 with Middlestat and Drouin. That's what I would do. And how about, hey, here's a positive. Casey Middlestat had the best play he's made. He made the best play that he has made in weeks. He stripped Colton Parayko of a puck as Parayko was looking to make a move in the D zone, and he went hard to the net and nearly beats Binnington 5-hole. It was the best moment that Casey Middlestat has had in some time. So there's another silver lining out of this game. And look, they played better in the third. That maybe a message was received, especially in the final 10. Now, how much of that is St. Louis kind of calling the dogs off with a 2-goal lead, and naturally the opponent is going to get a few more opportunities? Maybe there was some of that, but a message may have been received. the line jumbling was certainly a message as well. And Middlestat had a moment. So there you go. There's your positives.
I thought he had a couple of moments this weekend. There were not many moments to be had for the Avalanche. It's very evident in the fact that you scored 2 goals in 6 periods against 2 teams that are not going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. I thought Middlestat was, if you rank the top 3 forwards on the team this weekend, I think he's probably in the top 3. He wasn't impactful. Nobody was impactful. But I believe he was in the top 3. I thought he was a little bit better in the neutral zone. You saw him dispossess 2 St. Louis players in the neutral zone today, get some offensive chances out of it. He had that nice little poke check. I want to say it was at the end of the first period where he poke checks at the top of the zone and resets an offensive cycle. It doesn't end up in a goal, but it was something that he kept alive. So if I'm looking for silver linings here, I liked Casey Middlestat better than I have in weeks past. Like, he was also one of the main reasons why the Avs scored the only goal yesterday, right? Like, everyone remembers the drop pass from Duren and the massive bomb from Malinsky, but the player that makes that happen is Casey Middlestat in the D zone. I'm not saying that everything's fixed with Casey. It's not. But if we're looking for silver linings, number 37 was better than the steaming pile of crap that was the collective Avs forward unit in the last 48 hours. The other good news from this, outside of my thought process that, like, hey, you don't have to worry about any layoffs in the playoffs because, well, you're not going to sweep anyone. You're not going to miss the playoffs. Like, it would have to be catastrophically bad for the Avs to fall out of the 8th seed in the West right now. Calgary and St. Louis sit behind at 60 and 58 points, respectively. They both have games in hand on Colorado. Calgary with 3 games in hand, St. Louis with 1 game in hand on the Avalanche. You're not falling out of the playoffs. But on the opposite side of that coin spring, the Central Division is starting to get away from you. And unless you go at a minimum 4-2-0 over this 6-game homestand that starts on Wednesday, I worry that it is unattainable to get into the top 3. You must have 8 points of a possible 12, if not more, starting on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm seeing a lot of negativity in the chat.
I'm not opening the chat right now
Oh,
because I
it's
just can't see
terrible.
it.
It's
I know.
awful.
I can't look at it. I'm already negative enough. I can't look at it. Sorry, guys. Not paying attention to you today.
I'd
love all
like
of you.
to, I don't think anyone, really is going to care for level-headed reason and a larger perspective, because we've been doing this a long time. And how many times, and granted, this is a different Avs team. I was thinking about it, even today, like, man, when they win the cup, Kadri and Landeskog, that's a better 3-4 punch with, McKinnon and Rantanen being your 1-2 than the 3-4 punch that the Avs have right now. While I think they're a good team, they don't have this the sneaky level of firepower that they were able to acquire and have on that roster when they won that cup. That was a special roster, and it's tough to replicate that. But how many times, even this season, have I come away from a game or a couple games, a few games, thinking, oh boy, it's not looking good for the Avs. And then they right the ship. Kiviranta gets a hat trick, whatever the hell it might be. Ross Colton will score again. He's a good player. Miles Wood, I like Miles Wood. He has been in his career, certainly his Avs career, a very sneaky third, fourth line goal scorer. I would consider maybe getting the Roaring 20s line back together at some point. Colton, Wood, and O'Connor. Jack Drury has been okay. He is who he is. But these guys can and will figure it out. Now, they were a road team in last year's playoffs in Winnipeg. I agree with you, Raj. I don't think they're sweeping anybody, but they won that series in 5. Nothing will surprise me. Nothing will surprise me with this team as long as they're healthy. And we are going to see them at peak health on Wednesday. The most healthy they have been all season on Wednesday. That is what we will see.
Yeah, health is everything for this team. And I was hanging out with some friends today in Golden at New Terrain Brewery, and people were asking, as they do when we hang out, because of the nature of your job and my job, is how they look. How are they going to be this year? And my answer, certainly today before the game, and most of the year, has been it. I look at both the Avs and the Nuggets in the very same vein. I go, if healthy, they could win a championship, and I'd go, that makes sense. And then if healthy or if not healthy, either one, they could lose in the first round, and I'd go, that makes sense. Either one of the teams. I don't know what side of the coin is going to land when the playoffs come around. It's an incomplete equation up until, what is it, 3 Fridays from right now? 2 Fridays? 2 Fridays from right now. It's incomplete. If they make a big time move, that might sway my opinion. And I'm trying to find silver linings from this weekend. I suppose my biggest silver lining is like the rest of the league also kind of looks like crap right now, coming off of a 15-day layoff. I mentioned, and it was not hyperbolic for me to mention this, the Edmonton Oilers, who were a period away from winning a Stanley Cup championship last year, and for my money are the scariest team in the Western Conference, gave up 15 goals. 15 goals in back-to-back games this weekend. So if I'm looking for silver lining as the balloons fly up in front of my face,
It's a true silver lining right there.
Exactly. It's trying to liven my mood right now, Spring. As I look for silver linings, I suppose I can look at the rest of the league and go, well, no one's playing well. It hurts that the Avs do it against two crappy teams. If they turn around and they go 5-1 in the next 6 games at home, I'll forget about this weekend very quickly. But if they drop the other two and then they have to salvage 4 straight at the end by winning 3 of 4 against bad hockey teams, I will still find myself wallowing in pain as I am tonight.
They are going to make a move, if not multiple moves. So someone new is coming in. So someone new is coming in. Probably multiple. Like at last year's deadline, we saw several new guys come in. Most of them bottom players like Trennan and Duhaime, but nonetheless, Sean Walker, like new blood will come in. More depth, more options, more things that Jared Bednar can try, more combinations will be available to him, especially if they can stay healthy. Because, with new guys coming in, there's going to be some healthy scratches. Then guys who have played well overall this season, whether it be a Kiviranta or a Parker Kelly, they will have options. They will get some new blood in here. Look, man, it sucks. This is not a fun way to start the resumption from the Four Nations face-off. But it's February. It's February. This is a sport where 8 seeds can win the cup.
Yeah, you just got to get into the dance.
You got the Four Nations MVP. You got Cale. Cale had a good game. You tweeted out that sick little
that was sweet
handle move that he had some good defensive plays in the first part of this game. Like, defense hasn't been the issue to me. It's not defense. It's not anything in front of the goaltending, and the goaltending certainly hasn't been the issue. It's the offense right now. And I hope Nichushkin is the easy fix. There's part of me that thinks that's too simple and too good to be true, but damn, he's such a good player. So it will help tremendously. It will.
Yeah, the simple fix fallacy right now, I can totally feel, right? And I've been trying to go step 2 and step 3 of, okay, it's a given that Nichushkin is back this week. So what are the next steps? And maybe that fallacy needs to be held off until Val gets a few games in hand, until this homestand plays out 3 or 4 games into the future, maybe even up to or through that Pittsburgh game, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the week of the trade deadline. And maybe everything gets fixed then. They look great, and they look physical through the middle of the ice. They start to get a net front presence. Maybe one player changes all of that. as of right now, it doesn't feel like one player can change all of that. I'm willing to give it 3 games. Manson is likely 2 weeks away, so that puts him right around trade deadline time when he comes back. So as you said, they will be damn near full health, not completely, but really close to it by the time that this 6-game homestand starts off. I would agree with you. I think your top players have been good enough. Like McKinnon and Makar and Blackwood were good enough to get you wins this weekend. Although I believe just one combined point from Kale and Makar, or Kale and McKinnon, right? Just the one assist from Kale.
Well, they only scored 2
Over
goals. It's tough to rack up the points.
it is very tough to rack up points. It's a good point by you there. Only one combined point from those 2 players, but 5 combined goals from your 2 goaltenders. You walk away with 0 points, leaves you wanting so much more. And where that brings me full circle is you have to make moves for depth. And it's not third or fourth line depth. It's big time depth. It's top 6 forward. It's top pairing D, top 2 pair D. I won't move off Seth Jones. That's my Christmas wish, right? I've gone off of the back when I was a kid, spring, when the PlayStation 3 came out. That was the only thing I wanted for Christmas. The only thing, either a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. And you couldn't get them. They were sold out everywhere. Could not get them. And for months before Christmas, my mother and my father looked at me and they were like, dude, you're not getting it. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. No one can find it. It was past Santa Claus. So like they just cut all the crap. They're like, dude, you're not getting this on Christmas Day. And I came around to the realization that like my pipe dream wasn't going to happen. So my pipe dream is Sidney Crosby. I'm getting to the point where I don't think that the PlayStation 3 is in stock. So my next realization was what I wanted for Christmas number 2 that year. I wanted a new hockey stick. I wanted an Easton Stealth. And there was an Easton Stealth underneath the tree that year. And this year, my Easton Stealth is Seth Jones.
Mine is Sidney Crosby. I think it's an offense problem right now. I think Nichushkin helps, but I don't think he gets them talking about the year they won the cup. I don't think he gets them to that level. The middle stat's not Kadri. There's no Gabe Landeskog. And hey, maybe Gabe Landeskog comes back this season. What a jolt that would be. That's we don't even talk about it anymore. But maybe that's something that happens down the stretch. This was a weird game tonight. Devon Toews scores on a tip. On a tip. A defenseman, you rarely see a defenseman score on a tip tonight. And Colton Parayko also got net front and scored for St. Louis. 2 defensemen scoring on tips. That is a new one. You don't see that often. So some weirdness, maybe. Some weirdness. It's okay.
Some weirdness. A silver lining as we're looking for those types of things today. The very next day after that Christmas spring, when I didn't get the PlayStation 3, some kid returned a PlayStation and we went to Best Buy and we got the PlayStation the next day. So what that's telling me in my analogy is that not only do I get the Easton Stealth of Seth Jones, but the very next day, Sidney Crosby gets delivered to our front door at Ball Arena.
Man, what a year that would be. Even let's say even one of those 2 happens. Even just one of Seth Jones or Sidney Crosby. What a trade year this will have been. What a trade in-season trade year this will have been. From revamping the goalie room to the Rantanen trade to either Seth Jones or Sidney Crosby. That would be an unprecedented season of trades.
This 6-game homestand that's about to come as quickly as humanly possible. Like you need some home cooking. You got to get back into your own bed. You got to get back to family sports and doing morning skate back at your own place and just get back into the feel of the grind of a regular season. My minimum number is 4-2. Where does it stand for you?
I'm with 4-2. You want to go over 500 on your home ice, and the Avs. See what's their home record this season. I don't think it's great. 16-10-2. You look at like the Jets.
Not awesome.
Jets are 22-5-3.
That's awesome.
Avs are 16-10-2. It's not terrible. It's not where you'd like it to be, considering that Chicago and San Jose are on this homestand. Why do both of those games scare, and Pittsburgh? Why do those games scare me right now for some reason? New Jersey's beatable. They are. I think that they're a little bit of a fake team, kind of floating near the top of the Atlantic Division. Minnesota is freaking impressive, though. I'm going to give the Wild some credit. I mean, they participated along with the Red Wings in the first game back from the Four Nations on national television, so everyone could get their hockey fix immediately taken care of by watching Red Wings Wild. Wild come back and win that thing, and they were down 3-1. They were huge dogs in that third period. Come back and win in overtime. Without Kaprizov, they're playing well. They play hard. Like and that's the type of effort. When I watch like Minnesota play on Saturday morning, and they're without Kaprizov. They got some good players, but they play hard.
Yeah,
and that's missing for Colorado right now.
There was a feeling when you watched that game, and they're staying afloat without Kaprizov, and Kaprizov isn't coming back anytime soon. They just released that the other day. Like, they're not speeding his timeline up. I think there's something to be said for the nation that the players that the Minnesota Wild have that were at the Four Nations tournament. They had, if I'm correct, 2 Swedes and they had 2 Americans on the rosters. They may have had more, but I think it was 2 and 2. Both of those teams walked away without a championship, and one of them walked away in heartbreaking fashion. Brock Faber and Matt Boldy were awesome members of Team USA, and they looked pretty damn good in their return as well. Minnesota's, they're holding serve. I don't believe in them still, but they're holding serve. You have 3 legit playoff teams in New Jersey, Minnesota, and Toronto, and 3 lottery teams in Pittsburgh, Chicago, and San Jose. You have to sweep the 3 lottery teams, and then you have to steal one against one of the playoff teams. You might have to steal 2, right? Because the Avs are a bona fide playoff team, which tells you against those three opponents, you should get 1, and then you should steal one of them as well. So you know what? I'm going to upgrade it. 4-1-1 now is my minimum.
I'm going to stick with 4-2. The way that they just played this weekend, I'll take 4-2 all day. Heaven forbid they drop one, and watch this happen. They're going to drop one to Pittsburgh, San Jose, or Chicago, and they've done it earlier this season, and they bounce back from each one of those. And we'll have to have another show where everything sucks. But fortunately, I mean, like, they've had a tough schedule. And now here is a 6-game homestand with three cupcakes right there for you. And the Chushkin is back. So we're going to learn a lot. Like, this is really where we learn about the Avs. And the timing is perfect because it's right before the trade deadline. So it's where, the front office learns exactly what they need, how aggressive they feel they need to be. These 6 games really are everything when you consider the trade deadline right at the end of this thing.
All right, Spring, before we get out of here, the big news in the NHL today, not that the Avs didn't decide to show up in St. Louis. Alexander Ovechkin, a hat trick today. 882 goals. He is on pace to pass Wayne Gretzky's mark of 894 at home against the Chicago Blackhawks on April 4. He has plenty of time to get this thing done.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild how fast he's done this. I honestly didn't think he would do it this year, considering how old he is now. But my gosh, he doesn't look old.
And the injury, he broke his leg this year.
That's right, and the injury too. Amazing. What, 13 goals away now?
882 is 12 from tying, 13 from passing. Yes.
Okay, yeah, he could do that this season. I mean, he just threw up a hattie today. He could absolutely do it this season. What a year. What a year for Ovechkin. What a year for the Capitals. They built that team well. And sometimes you find yourself these windows can be somewhat small. Washington's built themselves a mini small window here after the window they previously had. Good for them.
It's amazing to watch that player continue to produce at this old. I don't know how he did it. I wonder if it's just like he doesn't want to play next year. Like he's just ready that this is, I'm going to pass and hope I'm going to pass and hopefully hit 900. Like at this point, 900 actually feels like he could get it done because April 4 still gives him a good 10 days, I think, before the end of the season. So if he keeps this pace up, he may have an opportunity with empty netters involved to hit 900 to be the first NHL player in history to hit that mark. If he hits 900 and Calgary makes a deep or I wouldn't even call it surprising now because they've been so good. A deep or uh a meaningful run in the Eastern Conference, maybe that might be the last we see of Ovi. Is just like I've done it all. I've won my cup. I made it one last hurrah, and I'm gonna end on the very top of my game rather than going out, sputtering next year just to make sure I get to 914 goals at the end of my career. There's a
Yeah, no,
possibility that happens.
and look, the Four Nations was good for the sport. It was good for the NHL. The Capitals being a top seed in the East with Ovechkin in his twilight years, but playing like he's in his prime almost, and he's a star. The NHL still needs to do a little bit of a better job building their stars up. And Sid and Ovi, they were ones that they succeeded massively on, and to have one of those two relevant again on a
Imagine
team that
having
is
both.
relevant. That's huge. That's huge for the NHL. If Washington can get at least to the second round of the playoffs, that is huge for the NHL.
Imagine having both, right? And it is a Chris McFarland and Kyle Dubas trade away. That's all it is. You would have both guys be very, very relevant. And while Sid doesn't have the gaudy goal numbers that Gretzky, that Ovechkin has right now, that he's climbing towards, right? Sid's already done all of his things. He's missed too many games at this point in his career to get those counting statistics. And Ovi is the greatest goal scorer of all time, the greatest goal scorer ever to play the game of hockey. In order for them to capitalize on the ends of their careers, I remember Gretzky retiring. I remember him as a Ranger, and it felt almost empty. Like I remember the 99s painted behind the crease, and I remember that he had a good season, but not a great season. Ovi's having a great season right now. Sid is playing yet again another point per game pace as he has his entire career this year, but he's pissing it away in Pittsburgh where they're worthless. At least Ovi's in first place right now. It's insane what Washington's doing.
It
If the N-
could you imagine? Could you imagine Crosby on the Avs and a Avalanche Capitals Stanley Cup final?
be the coolest thing ever.
How cool would that? And
The
how many
percentages are
Gretzky
minimal,
played
but
for?
like it'd be so cool.
Gretzky played for a million teams, and who cares about Sidney Crosby playing for the Penguins for his entire career? Who the hell really truly cares
I don't.
at the end of the day?
I don't.
How important is that really? The only thing it appears that is preventing a Sidney Crosby to the Avalanche trade is that idea that Sid wants to finish his career with the Penguins. That is the dumbest thing, actually. It's so dumb. Everything is set up for this trade to happen. The Avs have the pieces, they have the players, the prospects, the draft picks, the cap space. Everything is set up for this trade to happen. It would be stupid if this trade doesn't happen.
You want to hear
And
a
I fear it
fucked up?
probably won't.
You want to hear a fucked up stat about Wayne Gretzky's career?
Huh.
Wayne Gretzky was traded in 1987-88 after 8 years between the NHL and the WHA with the Edmonton Oilers. Wayne Gretzky appeared in 6 Stanley Cup Finals in 8 years with the Edmonton Oilers. He didn't appear in one, not one, for the final 10 years of his career. Not one.
Well, Sid's going that way.
Wayne Gretzky was 28 years old when he went to his final Stanley Cup final appearance.
Ray Bourque coming to the Avs. Nobody gives a damn that he didn't finish his career with the Bruins. It's the most overrated thing. Like Wayne Gretzky is the great one, and no one ever says, but he didn't play his whole career with one team. Can you really be the great one? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. That is all in people's head. The idea is this is a business. Mikko Rantanen getting traded. This is a business. Nobody make your money. Win your games. I don't care where you do it. I don't care how you do it. Play meaningful hockey and win games. Nobody cares that you played for one team your entire career. Nobody cares.
Wait, hold on. Did they go with the Kings in 92, 93? Did StatMuse just lie to me? StatMuse lied to me. He went to the final with the Kings. Okay, sorry. He went to the final with the Kings, and they got beaten 5 games by Patrick Waugh's Montreal Canadiens. All right, so we went to the finals one time. One time. There we go. All right, screw it. One time.
Don't go that way, Sid. Don't be like Wayne in that respect.
All right,
play in the Cup Finals again, my friend. You can do it.
Yeah, they went with LA in 92, 93. They won a single game in that final. They lost in 5 games.
I'd take that. At this point, the way that this weekend feels, if Sidney Crosby came to the Avs and they go on a miracle run to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they lose in 5, I'd take that. Because right now, it feels like, at least, the Avs have 0 chance to win the Cup. So I'd take that. I'd take a Gretzky losing 5. I'd take that all day. Get Sid to Colorado. Let's Gary Bettman, get involved, intervene.
StatMuse freaking lied to me, man. I had it right in front of me, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you only went to." The reason why is because I don't pay for StatMuse's pro subscription, so it ended at 1988.
That happened to me on StatMuse the other day. Yeah.
That's you know what? It's just it's a slippery slope when you're trying to do things that
I'm not
that
paying
just
for StatMuse. I'm not doing it.
It's a slippery slope when we prep a lot of things for this show, and then there's some things that just come up after the seat of your pants. You go, all right, I'm gonna quickly Google it, and if it's right, it's right. If it's not, fuck it. Away she goes.
Been there.
And you know what? It's better to admit you're wrong than to try and go off into the sunset thinking you're right about everything, which I'm not right about everything. All right, I'm done talking about this game, man. It's a stupid weekend of hockey. It was boring. I expect them to be better on Wednesday. That's it. That's all I expect.
Oh, I can't wait to see Valeri Nichushkin back. I can't wait to see it. He's their second best forward. They've been without him for a hot minute now. I can't wait to see him back. Kyle Connor not, getting scratched in that final. When we were talking about the most underrated players in the NHL recently, Connor's one of them. Nichushkin is absolutely one of them. He doesn't get enough credit. I cannot wait to see him on Wednesday night. So hopefully the choo-choo train is the answer to all of our problems.
Sure is. All right, Spring, I'll talk to you on Wednesday. Avs fall back-to-back games to Nashville in Game 1, St. Louis in Game 2. They'll be back on the ice, 7:30 puck drop on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 against Jack Hughes and the New Jersey Devils at Ball Arena as the Avs begin a 6-game homestand. Spring and I will be on the air late that night, probably close to around 11 p.m. Spring, see you Wednesday.